Oh my goodness. Welcome to the most toxic, the most negative Broncos podcast there is out there. It's Let's Talk Broncos. The Broncos won today, Joey, but despite them winning, I can't imagine today going much worse than it did. What's your general takeaway before we dive into it?
Okay, my general takeaway is when it comes down to tanking, who's going to be the best? The Bears are the Chiefs of this shit. They run it, man. I mean, screw up after screw up, mistake after mistake. It was like literally, it felt like they could just run straight and get 5 yards every single time. And boot, fumble. All right, Jonathan Cooper's running back for a touchdown. They're unbelievable when it comes down to tanking. That's my general takeaway.
Sorry, I had to get back to my tabs, hosting and promoting. Yeah, I agree. That was absolutely crazy. Down the stretch here, we've got some comments. Let's get some live Broncos fan reactions. Carter saying he hates lives. We win meaningless games. We lose meaningful games. I think that's a great summary, honestly, of how I'm feeling right now. So the one game we were supposed to lose, we win. This is from Shoelaces. I hate this team. Oh my God, we had one job to continue losing. And I kind of agree. It would be one thing. It would be one thing to me if the Broncos came out and smacked the Bears. If last quarter or quarter and a half or whatever, if that was the whole game and they smack them 49-14. Oh, okay. You know what? 0-3, it did feel a little low. Those first two games were a little weird. And then the 70, you have the historic blowout. Maybe they're better than we thought. Maybe this season could be fun. Even if they won convincingly. Instead, they go down 28-7 to a Chicago Bears team that is definitely the worst team in the NFL right now. and then win. Which, yes, like I know plenty of Broncos fans will be annoyed that maybe we're disappointed with a win, but I don't know. You went down 28-7 to the Bears. That doesn't make me feel good about the Broncos. I think this is a very bad football team. Now they're just less likely to get the benefits, to yield the rewards of sucking ass in the NFL.
I like, it's one of those things I don't even know where to begin. Like, yes, the Broncos won. That always feels pretty good. But when you look at like the long-term outlook of this, the Broncos defense is still terrible. I mean, Justin Fields looked like Pat Mahomes the whole first half. he just outlost us at the end.
Dude, he opened up 24 of 26.
Yeah.
Like that Nick Bonito forced fumble changed the whole game. Not only did it give the Broncos a defensive touchdown, it injured Justin Fields' arm, it seemed, where he couldn't throw the ball anymore. And they had nothing at that point. Before that, and I don't think right before it, but about up until then, he was perfect on the day. Like, he was unstoppable. The Broncos were giving up a perfect passer rating to the NFL's worst passing quarterback. Mm-hmm. This is a bad football team. They just are less likely to benefit from being awful. That's what the win changes. I don't think this team is good. I don't think they're really that much more likely to make the playoffs. They get the Jets next week, who are a better team than the Bears, could easily beat them. And then they go Chiefs, Green Bay, Chiefs. 3 games against 2 really good teams. Even if they beat the Jets next week, this team's 2-6 going into the bye, halfway through the season. Like, a win today does not really help them. This is 28-7 to the Bears, down 28-7 to the Chicago Bears, making Justin Fields look like Dan Patrick Mahomes. What is going on? I mean,
can we get into the ups and downs real quick, Zach?
Yeah. Now, I don't even know the first 3 weeks how we did this. We're going to start with our stock downs, finish with our stock ups, so we can close on a positive note. God, it's going to be hard for me to be positive. Like, I'm sorry, being so bad, you get a superstar quarterback, like, is kind of a positive in and of itself, and they pissed that away. I don't even know. Joey, we should close positive, though. Give me your stock down to open us up here.
Okay. My stock down would obviously be just that the Broncos won, but I'm going to go, I think me and you kind of hashed that out, Zach. So I'll just continue to roll with EJ. Vance Joseph is terrible. I mean, it was really like in the Tank Bowl today that we saw. I really thought we had a fighting shot with Vance Joseph out there. You know what? For most of the game, we did. He gave us more than a fighting shot. We were down. You know how ESPN puts out those probabilities of how your probability of a win or loss during certain times. There was a point where it was a 98 point something % chance that the Chicago Bears were going to win. That's how bad Vance Joseph and his defense were. Like it's just continuously bad too. That's the thing I think people need to wrap their head around. Yes, the Miami Dolphins, really good offensive football team. Are they good enough to score 70? No. Okay, you know what? Let's rewind a week from there. We played Sam Howell in the Reds or in the Commanders. They gave us 35. And then Justin Fields comes into this game and he looks like Pat Mahomes, as you were saying. So I think any narrative that the Dolphins were just really good football team, we got to throw that away now. Every single week, the Broncos play a team. They make them look 20 times better on offense. So the Broncos defense, I think it's the worst in the league. I don't even know how you could argue against it at this point. And Vance Joseph is the one running that defense. So blame goes to him.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect pick. He's bad. I think I underrated it in past shows. Now I stand by the fact that I think this is a very talent-poor defensive roster, and the Broncos have to rebuild this unit. Like it is, even if you want to cling to Russell Wilson and you're not down with maximizing the draft value or whatever, I think everyone agrees this defense has to be completely rebuilt. But also on top of that, Vance Joseph is a very, very bad defensive coordinator. This is crazy. They can't tackle. Like their coverage is terrible. I mean, if Justin
Fields really makes it blatant to me, Zach, it's the lapses in coverage. How many times in all of these are it's just a breakdown in coverage. It's not like our talent, like somebody is just getting mossed over the top. And you're like, damn, okay, well, you got to chalk that one up to the game. No, the seam pass, the tight end just ran straight up the seam. One of the linebackers was supposed to carry him up there. What happened? Nobody. It was the easiest pitch and catch of all time. And that's where it comes down to coaching. Now, to Zach, I want to give you your credit, though, because I don't think anyone could have predicted that Vance Joseph would be going into the season running a defense he never ran. That's something I think everybody underestimated and no one really talked about going into this year, and probably is the reason he looks as bad as he does right now. So I think that, if you're giving your preseason predictions, how could anyone predict that?
No. And also it's crazy. Like you're not fixing that midseason either. You're not overhauling the defensive play calling. And I don't know. I don't know what the path is for this team now. Like I still think they can get the number 1 pick, to be clear. I mean, the Bears, to your point, might be the Kansas City Chiefs of this thing. They have the number 1 and number 2 overall picks right now. The Panthers look very bad. The Bears probably going to get Caleb Williams.
When it comes to this losing shit, nobody's beating the Bears.
I think the Broncos can still get there. This is a very bad team. I think they should improve as the season goes on, but I don't know. This is, if you just look at the second half of the Commanders game and the first half of the Bears game, not the whole first half of the Commanders game. Goodness, second half, like 32 minutes, final 32 minutes of the Commanders game and the first half of this game, it's 62 minutes of football. The Broncos were outscored by bad teams like 53-19. This is a bad football team. I mean, if we want to be excited because this team will now be 5-12 instead of 4-13, goody. But God, look at the next 4 games on the schedule. It's brutal. The Broncos season opened up very easy. I thought this when the schedule got released. The schedule makers were intentionally fluffing the Broncos schedule so they could have a good start to the season and you could have some better matchups in terms of like the Broncos primetime slate and whatever. I guess they only have the 1 game, but just some more marquee matchups in the AFC West as the season goes on, kind of inflate that record a little bit. It gets a lot harder from here on out. I do not know how the Broncos win 7 games this year, let alone get in the playoff hunt like this. I think it's them and the Bears. I think these are the 2 worst teams in football right now.
Yeah, I do think they're the two worst teams in football too.
Ugh.
And the offense is pretty good. I do think the Broncos offense, as the season continues, it's going to get better. I don't think that you can count on the Broncos just continuously, doing the mental mistakes. How many offsides or false starts did we get today from the Broncos offensive line, stuff like that? So I do think the Broncos offense is pretty good and it's going to get pretty good. I just don't think the defense will be anywhere near good enough. I don't know if the Broncos are going to go in every game having to score 40 and win, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I just, it's going to be hard. I think they can do it some weeks, but it's going to have to be like lights out halves, lights out games like this. We got Gregory Miller dunking on us, our hater, the Breeze Stan.
It's the hater.
You guys were talking about Russell Wilson all summer, never said nothing about the defense. I figured you'd be too embarrassed to show your face. Now, Gregory, I will say you're objectively wrong there. We talked about impending defensive regression plenty. Did we say they'd be this bad? No, we did not see this coming. But Joey especially, even more so than me, I think I was maybe the most optimistic on the defense. I still talked plenty about it regressing. Joey thought this unit was going to take a big step back. So I disagree with you, Gregory. Other fan reactions we have here. I like D-Bronx here. Stock down Randy Gregory. He lost his job, and I don't know how he gets it back with how Cooper and Benito look. I agree. I think he's probably a bench player now. Great signing, George. So in order to win, I need to not pay attention and not wear my colors. It does seem that way. I'm sure a lot of Broncos fans checked out at halftime and then completely missed out on the nice comeback. Dow saying he's so pissed. I do want to also highlight really quick before I get into my stock up, stock down, or my stock down rather, which mirrors a lot of the fan reactions. Does anyone want a marshmallow? Everyone look up the Stanford marshmallow experiment. There's this little experiment where they gave these children a marshmallow and they said, hey, if you don't eat the marshmallow for 15 minutes, we'll give you a second marshmallow. And then they tracked those kids later on in life and found out the kids that could be patient for greater rewards turned out to kind of be more successful in life later on. That's what I think about when it comes to the Broncos winning this game. Winning against the Bears in a meaningless season is the one marshmallow today. Potentially drafting a superstar quarterback is the two marshmallows in 15 minutes. And so much of Broncos country cannot be patient enough for that. Speaking of stock down, Broncos country, I'm mirroring Dow here. I think this is long-term not great. I do think this team's going to be bad enough that they're probably forced to accept a rebuild. And I think that's the more important end result of this season. Like landing Caleb Williams is a tremendous boon, but more than anything, the Broncos just can't keep running back the same tired strategy they've had since 2016, where, hey, if we fix this one thing that's wrong, now it's Vance Joseph. Last year it was Nathaniel Hackett. The year before that, it was Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. If we fix this one or two things that are wrong with the team, Pat Shurmur, fill in your blank Broncos villain. If you just fix this, the team will be a playoff team next year. And they've done that every year for 8 straight years. It's done. I'm tired of it. Burn it down, rebuild it. That's the only way this team gets good again. Getting that number 1 overall pick, whether you want to draft Caleb Williams or trade it for a ridiculous haul, would have been a great way to jumpstart that rebuild.
Yeah.
That is looking less likely now. I think the win today is ultimately a loss for Broncos country.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I would just rehash everything we went at the end. I got a lot of backlash for that yesterday. I tweeted out that I think the Broncos should lose tomorrow. That would be what's best for them in their long-term trajectory. And I still believe that. It's going to be hard for me. And Gregory Miller says, you also thought Russell Wilson was washed up. Don't forget that. Here's what I have to say. Like, under the Russell Wilson window, do you think this Broncos team can ever reach a Super Bowl? Do you think the Broncos are going to make repairs enough to this team in the time he still is good to go to a Super Bowl? And that's just where I have questions and why I think it's important the Broncos do keep an eye out for quarterback. Now, hey, just a little draft nugget. It's not the end of the world. Caleb Williams definitely would be the guy. This year's quarterback class looks phenomenal, though. And is a coach in the NFL that I think can develop a quarterback and make them look really good. We saw it with Russell Wilson this year, a major step up from where he was last year. It's Sean Payton. And I think, there's some interesting guys out there. So it's not end of the world, I guess. But that's what I got to say there.
Fully agree with you. And I'll just follow up with Gregory here. He says, you guys did think Russell Wilson was washed up, though. Don't forget that. I won't. I did. My expectations for Russ were much lower than what we've seen this year. I still think Russell Wilson is not a $60 million quarterback that is going to help this team win games. To Joey's point, how Russell Wilson's contract post-trade and everything was structured for the Broncos was you kind of had 2 cheap years in terms of his cap hit, where he's getting paid about 20 million, or it's like 25, 27 million per. These are the cheap years where you can invest all that extra cap space into the roster around Russell Wilson. In theory, last year and this year should be the very best the roster is during Russell Wilson's tenure. Yikes. Fucking yikes. That's terrifying. And Russell Wilson is no longer this MVP level quarterback, though he's never received an MVP vote, but he's no longer this all pro level quarterback that is carrying you to a bad roster to the promised land. There's a chance, to Joey's point, a young quarterback and a loaded quarterback class could be that. But Russ greatly outperformed my expectations this year. No denying that. Speaking of some positives, Joey, are you ready to get into some stock up, or do you want to
I would
talk
love
about
to.
the negatives anymore? All right, give me your stock up.
Okay, my stock up is Jaleel McLaughlin. He looks fun. We have a lot of fun players, and I don't know if you're going to highlight any of the other ones, so I'll save it. But the Broncos have a little collection of guys that really haven't showed out for them in any other prior year, and then now doing it this year, whether it be rookies or Jaleel McLaughlin. There's guys out there that are doing that are just kind of fun players to have. And I think Jaleel McLaughlin, I don't know this year if we've had a more effective running back run the ball than we saw today out of Jaleel. He was super effective, making stuff happen fast, quick. Man, can he make people miss when he's in space. And then also another thing, I think that pitch play they keep running to him is really smart, because
It's great.
It's great because not only are you utilizing his speed to the outside, but he has great vision. And a lot of times today, he was cutting that right back up the middle. He's a fun football player and really showed out today. And I think he's going to be a Bronco for the future. It's not just this year. He's going to be a Bronco for a while.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just echoing some of the young guys that we'll get into here for a second. I'll get some fan reactions. J-Dog says, stock up slightly, Mims. I'm already pretty high, but knowing, he must mean stock-wise. Just I'm already pretty high, got me. I'm already pretty high, but knowing that he can handle fourth quarter pressure is a big positive for me. Would agree with that. We've got a few Marvin Mimses in here. Sean Rundgren. Sean says Marvin Mims is the GOAT. I also like stock up Nick Benito, stock up my faith in Peyton cooking up something on offense when they get more players. And that's why I'm going to be a bit of a dick here and keep hammering the drum. Stock up the argument for a rebuild. My goodness, this team, we need a fresh start. And I think you look at the elements of this roster that get you excited. Like on the defensive line, it'd be Matt Henningsen. It's not very exciting, but it's a player on a rookie deal. At linebacker, it's Drew Sanders, rookie deal. In the defensive backfield, it's like PJ Locke and Patrick Surtain. Locke's not on a rookie deal, but he might as well be with how cheap it is. Surtain's on a rookie deal. Offense, we're hyped about Mims. We're hyped about McLaughlin. We're hyped about Mimers.
Yeah.
Guys on rookie deals. The parts of this roster that get you excited, Benito on defense, rookie deal. Cooper on defense, rookie deal. Yeah. The parts he did, absolutely. The parts of this roster that get Broncos country excited, or that should get Broncos country excited, outside of the $60 million aging quarterback, are the young, cheap elements. That is a great case for, hey, all these old, expensive pieces like a Randy Gregory, like a Garrett Bowles, that we maybe don't feel like Sutton and Tim Patrick, that just don't align with where this team is right now. Ship them off, get draft picks, and start rebuilding this roster, because God, does it need it.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, Yeah. You still need to, I think, whether the Broncos, end up with the first pick or not, I think they're still sellers at the I think they should still be sellers when it comes down to a trade deadline deal or even before that. There's a lot of teams out here looking for wide receivers. And hey, Marvin Mims opens the door a little bit to be like, we at least see a vision for a rebuild. It's a great head start for that wide receiver room. And you have two on your team that I think are kind of expendable at this point. So I would definitely go into this still saying I'm willing to trade pieces need be. Like I said earlier, I don't think the Broncos are in a position where you're just able to build a Super Bowl team around Russell Wilson right now. And I'm under I don't know, Zach, you tell me if you agree with me. I'm always under the influence that you should be trying to build a Super Bowl team. I'm not doing all of this. Okay, I'm cool with mid. I'm not cool with mid. If I'm not going for the Super Bowl or trying to build a team to get to the Super Bowl, what the hell am I doing? That's what we need to restart and figure out how we can get on that path if you're not on it. So I don't know. Do you agree with me there in just like the philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, I've softened some. I think a year or two ago, I would have been harsher on it. I do think now, seeing how bad the Broncos are and how serious the losing culture is, I do think there's an argument for maybe slow playing a rebuild like we saw with the Lions, right? The Lions aren't trying to win a Super Bowl, even right now, even. But as they stripped down the entire roster and started building around youth and bringing in young pieces, they kept Jared Goff installed on a fairly expensive contract just so they knew they would have competency at the quarterback position, and they knew the value of what competency at the quarterback position could provide in terms of development for the young players on that roster. So I think there's an argument for it. It's not one that I ultimately buy into, but I do think there is an argument. I ultimately side with you. You should be building to win a Super Bowl, and I don't think the Super Bowl window is open.
Yeah, it's not necessarily just go all out every given year to but you should give yourself a chance. Or if you're not on the path where you think you can ever, you're on the wrong path. Like what are you doing? That's my only take there. Yeah, do you have any other positives you want to highlight, Zach?
No, that was the big one. I think I wanted to touch on stock up is Russell Wilson, Gregory. I agree. I thought he's playing really good.
He's playing good. I like what Russell Wilson's doing.
I agree. I just think he played good the first 3 weeks. So for me, that's why he's not a stock up. I think it was already there. I will say this, that is very good. If Russell Wilson keeps looking this good, and I think it's a very small chance, but if he keeps looking this good and the Broncos season goes down the tubes, like really goes down the tubes, they're like 1-7 or so.
Yeah.
But Russ continues to look this good, maybe they could move Russ. If you look at some of the trade stuff you could do, it could be a little easier to swallow than a cut. It depends on when you do it. You would pretty much have to do it during this season, which is why I think it's so unlikely. But if he looks so good and you can maybe, I don't know what the team would be, maybe the Patriots, if they start getting out on Mac Jones and they want a quarterback, it would be a weird needle to thread. But with Russell Wilson looking so good, maybe you don't even have to stomach all the dead cap that comes from cutting him. One would pray. I think that is the last.
Can I give one real quick, Zach?
I wanted to mention. Sure. Actually, before you do, because I'm going to forget. People watching us live, please subscribe to Let's Talk Broncos if you haven't already. Please leave a like. If you're listening to this later as a podcast, rate us 5 stars. All that is a huge help to the show. We love what we're growing. We love talking with you guys damn near every day a week. See a lot of you keep coming back and appreciate it. So if you want to like, subscribe, comment, all that's much appreciated. You can also even super chat now. That's above and beyond generous. But if you want to do that, you'll get your comment highlighted and we'll spend a couple minutes talking about it. But anyways, Joey, get into what you want to talk about.
Okay. I think I want to get one that I do want to say. I've seen so many comments, like the rookie quarterback conversation is such a deal. And everyone's talking about, the Broncos, who's going to protect them? It's a terrible situation, all this. The Broncos offensive line is actually okay this year. And I don't see why it's going to get dramatically worse in the years to come. It's actually okay. When I go up and down, the Broncos depth chart on the offensive line, it's like, okay, is Bulls great? No. Is he good? Yes. Is Miners great? Is he good? Yes. Is Lloyd Cushenberry having the best year of his career? Yes. Ben Powers is okay. Mike McGlinchey is okay. The Broncos actually have one of their best offensive lines I think they've had in a really long time. And I just want to give a shout out to that real quick because, of course they're going to have their laps. I'm not saying they're the Cowboys or they're even close, the prime Cowboys or, the Detroit Lions or anything like that. But their offensive line is okay. That's one thing I want to highlight. Like it's not the worst unit on this team at all. Actually, it's probably near the top. As far as if you were just looking at the whole units go, the offensive line is pretty good.
Yeah, no, it is. What? Maybe you put running back, you put quarterback. I don't know, quarterbacks up there. That's maybe the only one. They're the only two up there in conversation with offensive line right now.
Yeah,
and another aspect to having a good offensive line, it's not so bad to put a young quarterback behind a good offensive line. Exactly. That's helpful for a young quarterback. Entering this game, I'll see what the numbers are after this game, though I imagine they went up, though maybe the first half was so bad I'm wrong. Broncos, one of 7 teams with top 10 pass block win rate and run block win rate entering this week, which isn't the end all be all, but I do think it's a good sign. Okay, we'll get out of here on that. Joey, tell them where to find your work, please.
Yeah, everyone, I'll just shout out to YouTube. Like and subscribe if you guys want daily Broncos content. It's every day, damn near. And then follow me at Jared Drafts if you're on Twitter. That's all I got.
Absolutely. And make sure you're coming back here Monday as we'll dive into this a little deeper with our lovely co-host, Bree Maestas. What else do we got? We've got Buffs on Tuesday with me and Mario talking about a really exciting CU USC game and how the schedule gets a little easier for the Buffs moving forward. Wednesday, we're on with Brandon Perna talking, having a little bit of fun with the Broncos, trying to find some light at the end of the tunnel. Thursday, you've got the Thursday show with Joey and Frankie breaking down the team with a little bit of a team building lens. That's going to be interesting this week, I'm sure. And then Friday,
by the end of that one, we're going to argue like no other.
Actually, absolutely. Last episode had the fight going. This coming episode, I'm sure we'll continue it. And then on Friday, we're going to be previewing Hackett Bowl. Nathaniel Hackett versus Sean Payton. That'll be exciting as well. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure. Oh, nope, I'm all good. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're liking the stream, rating us 5 stars. Thank you for everything, Broncos country, and see you on